Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 9 of the Startup Sessions, the number one show for starting a business that matters by doing work you love. I'm Michael Knouse, and today I'm interviewing simplicity expert, published author, writer, photographer, blogger, course creator, and all around one of the most amazing people that I know, Tammy Strobel. Tammy's former life is a distant memory compared to the life that she and her husband have today. 4 years ago, Tammy was an unhappy, tired, and stressed out employee, and today she's making a living doing exactly what she loves. Tammy's going to talk about her journey from a career in investment management and then social work to being in business for herself, doing the things that really matter most to her. If you've ever wondered if it's possible to embrace many different interests and turn it all into a thriving microbusiness, then you're in for an absolute awakening. It's all coming to you right now on episode 9 of the Startup Sessions. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Startup Sessions. I'm Michael Knouse, and today I'm here with a very special guest that I think has been pretty pivotal in shaping the art of living more simply and with more intention, and also with more happiness. And today I'm speaking with Tammy Strobel, founder of the well-known blog Rowdy Kittens. She's also a writer, an author, a photographer, a teacher in many courses, and so much more. So welcome, Tammy.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm super excited to be here.
My pleasure. I've been looking forward to having you on the show, and I'm really excited to see what unfolds today.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I know you from your time in Portland, and your focus was on writing and living simply, and I also know that you used to work in the investment management industry and in the social service sector as a peer counselor. And so you made quite a transition from, working for others to really designing and working at your own micro business. And I want to focus I really want to focus on that today because that's where so many of my listeners are at. They're doing something else, and a lot of them envision starting something with more depth and more meaning, but there's that gap of, gosh, how do I get from where I am now to that reality of having my own business and doing something more meaningful? So I'd really love to have you share a little bit about that journey from working full time to simplifying and working for yourself.
Gosh, it's been like a really awesome journey. It's amazing to think that I have my own little business because I never really thought that would happen for me for a lot of different reasons. But in 2014, it'll be my 4th year of being self-employed and kind of doing my own thing. So it's pretty exciting. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I've been able to support myself for 3 years, going on 4, doing work I love and having more control over my time. But I started out in the investment management industry after I graduated from Chico State, and I was basically doing project management work and commuting, 2 hours a day and sitting in the cubicle for 8 to 10 hours a day. So it was like, I just felt unhappy, tired, stressed out, just really not in touch with what I was passionate about. And so because I started getting so depressed about kind of the life that I was living and kind of getting caught up in materialism and overspending, and I feel like if you're unhappy, it can lead to a lot of unintended consequences. Like, at least for me personally, I was trying to fill the unhappiness with stuff, and that wasn't working out. And so, I had a lot of conversations with my husband, Logan, about what we really wanted out of our lives and our careers and just our relationships. And So I made the leap into the social service sector because I was really passionate about sort of nonprofits and helping victims of violence kind of stabilize their lives and kind of doing the advocacy side of things. So leaving the investment management industry and going to the social service sector was super positive for me. I loved doing that work, but I also was in that field, I guess, 3-4 years ish, and I got
Mm-hmm.
really burned out, which is typical when you're doing really heavy work like that. And
Yeah.
so as I was kind of getting more and more burned out, I was thinking, God, I really want to, do writing and photography. It'd be cool to teach too. I had all these ideas for a micro business. And so in January 2010, I finally quit my day job and made the leap into my own little business. And that's like a really short, condensed version of the story. But I
Yeah.
took lots of steps in between to kind of get prepared to start my own little business, like both financially and emotionally and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Was there was there any one thing that, caused you to make that jump from, working for someone else to starting your own business, or was it just kind of accumulation of those things you were talking about before?
Sort of an accumulation of things, and I really just wanted to have more control over the projects I worked on, and I didn't want to be in a job where I felt burned out. And especially when you're working, with victims of violence or doing advocacy work, like those are really important issues. And I think it's important to kind of be aware of your frame of mind. And if you're
Hmm.
in a position where you're super burned out, I don't think you can be of service to others. And so
Yeah.
I knew that I needed to make a change, and I'm glad that I did because it's really worked out for the best for me.
Yes, it has. I know one big part of you and Logan's life has been embracing simplicity, and
Mm-hmm.
even on your site here, your tagline is "Go small, think big, and be happy." So it's not like you're shutting out things that you care about, but it seems like you're really combining the important things to you along with simplicity and the benefits that you have gained from that. Um, and I've been to your tiny house when you were in
Mm-hmm.
Portland, and for people that aren't familiar with that concept, you can find out more. I'll link up Tammy's website and blog, and you can see all kinds of cool pictures. But that's fascinating to me. I'm I don't I'm not ready to make that leap to simplicity,
Mm-hmm.
but the fact that you guys really embrace that simpler lifestyle is so admirable from my perspective. You guys are living this life that I don't think a lot of people um, maybe can envision. So, can you tell us a little bit about what led to you being focused on simplicity? And I consider you like one of the thought leaders and an expert, and you've written a book about it. But just tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. Well, gosh, thanks for the kind words. You're really sweet. Well, it's sort of in terms of like our downsizing process and simplifying it. It kind of went hand in hand with my career change, and
Mm-hmm.
as Logan and I sort of engaged in conversations about where we wanted our lives to go, we realized that we needed to make some pretty big changes in terms of our debt and how we spent money, just the whole materialism thing. Like I needed to find, like I would go shopping to like find fulfillment, and that's just not cool. Like, it's not that buying stuff is fine. I think if you're mindful about what you're buying and if the product's going to serve you, awesome, go for it. But if it's just sort of mindless shopping where you're racking up your credit card, it makes life, I think, even more stressful. And
Yeah.
so we made some pretty big habit changes on that side of things. And I knew that, like, for me to feel comfortable leaving my day job that I wanted to get my debt paid off, and I wanted to have a substantial nest egg put away
Mm-hmm.
just in case everything exploded and the whole micro business thing failed. I knew that I wanted to have some kind of security in place. And
Mm-hmm.
so making the decision to simplify and basically downsize our living space over time, our possessions, our cars, the debt, it all kind of went hand in hand together. And I just feel now a lot happier and more at ease. And of course, life is never perfect or easy, right? Like you're always going to have
Yeah.
challenges no matter what's going on. But for me personally, I found that with the simplifying, I have more space to just focus on the stuff that matters, whether it's really awesome, happy stuff, or if it's like the difficult things in life that
Yeah.
come up, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. It makes a lot of sense. It seems, people are so busy. A lot of times that's the number one excuse. Well, it's not even, sometimes it's not an excuse. Sometimes it's real. I mean, people's lives are filled with so much, and there's so many, I'll call them even distractions that we have in our lives, whether they're self-imposed or otherwise. And, simplicity, to me, you've taken simplicity to kind of an art form, because you've broken it down, and you did that for your book and on your blog. And so I mean, this is going to be a little plug here for people if you're, interested in a simpler life, so that you do have time to focus on things that are really, truly important. I would really encourage you to check out Tammy's work and her website. Your book, You Can Buy Happiness and It's Cheap, is amazing. So I just wanted to make sure that I'm able to make sure people know how to find your information, because
Oh,
it's like,
thank you.
to me, I haven't looked at a lot of the other. I've looked at you and Leo Babauta's stuff, and
Hmm.
and that stuff was kind of the groundbreaking, like, realization for me when I was first considering alternatives to working in a corporate job, and
Hmm.
buying new cars every 5 years, and living in a nice house. That thought of being more simple about things was kind of some of the first steps that I started taking. So it's powerful for me, and I think it can be powerful for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. And I also, in my book, I talk about how simplicity and simplifying looks different for everyone. Like
Yeah.
Logan and I, it's just us and our cats. We don't have kids, and so like we live in this really tiny house, and that works for us and our life circumstance right now. But life is always changing too, and I think that's true for everyone. And so it's always, I think, important to come back to the question of what makes me happy and what steps
Yeah.
can I take to get to the happy place, and
Mm-hmm.
to make the space for work you love, your relationships, and, to not worry so much about the stuff and the
Yeah.
cars because, it's just stuff. That's
Yeah.
replaceable.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Um, I wanted to get the simplicity discussion in there. I could honestly talk to you for way longer than we have time for here today. And, um, but I do want to touch on something that is just front and center for a lot of people that I speak with, some of the people that I end up working with in a coaching relationship, and that is the basics of getting a small business off the ground, so that
Hmm.
people can do more meaningful work. That can be the biggest challenge for so many people that are living one way, working, and a mortgage and maybe kids, or maybe
Hmm.
not, and then transitioning to just getting that idea of theirs off the ground. So can you talk a little bit about your experience with that, and some insights there?
Yeah, well, when I was first like considering doing my own business, I knew that, I had to get my debt under control, because
Mm-hmm.
like how I was living, I just knew that like making the leap to self-employment, I knew that the income would decrease probably at first, and it did, which was
Yeah.
fine, but just kind of making sure that the debt was gone was a huge step for me, and
Okay.
getting my personal expenses under control just made me a lot more comfortable with taking the leap to starting my own business.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't have to be that way either, but it's just kind of like taking that step back and evaluating your financial situation, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
And then for me, before I left my day job, I had already started blogging and writing and kind of doing freelance writing on the side, and kind of testing like my market, like at least on my site, doing surveys and asking about like, well, if I were going to start my own business, kind of what products would you be interested in? Asking my readers that question, and sort of doing tons of brainstorming, and that was really helpful for me. And just
Yeah.
having kind of the side projects that I could do a little bit at a time made me realize, like, okay, I can totally do this. Like, even if I couldn't sell my own books, I knew I could find work as a freelance writer, or
Yeah.
maybe sell, stock photos, or do consulting or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of doing that initial like testing in terms of market was good for me. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that was kind of how I started the whole process. And then I finally just made the decision to go for it, because I wanted to put all my energy and time behind my business. And I knew it was risky, but I wanted to give it a go, because, life is short. And
Yeah.
I knew, well, shit, I can always get a job. Like, I worked at gas stations from like 16 years old until I was 25 to, pay for my college stuff. So,
Yeah.
I think like just having that realization, it's like, well, it's not that bad. I can make a go of this. And I did. And so, I don't know, like for the listeners out there, it's kind of start brainstorming the tiny steps you can take to get going and do
Yeah.
it.
That is super, super powerful. Starting on the side, testing, I think is huge. And I haven't, like, I would call that experimenting. Have fun and start experimenting with stuff. And
Yeah, and I like that phrasing better too, because it really is an experiment. Because in reality, you never know, like, is this going to work or not? And
yeah.
so even if it fails, like having that mindset to take a step back and asking, okay, why did this fail? What can I learn from
Yes.
this? And, how can I infuse my next project with more energy?
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And also the part about, being able to get another job. I mean, that's so true. That happened to me. I was in software sales for like 11 years. And I stepped out of
Mm-hmm.
that world to try some other things, totally non-related, for close to 4 years. And then I tapped back into my network because I wanted to get back into software for some like personal reasons and saving money and this and that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I, within, I think it took me 3 months, I was able to get back in and get another good job that really fit me well for that time. So that's, that can be it's scary any way you look at it, to step away from something that feels secure. But it's not as hard to get back in and get a job if you've built, a good network.
Right.
That's a very viable, option that I think can feel good. If it feels good to me anyways. That's one of the things that I kind of keep in my back pocket even today. I mean, I'm pretty passionate about doing what I'm doing, but it's good to know that you've got that there too.
For sure, for sure. And also, like, I think, in a lot of ways, security is a total illusion, because you might be at a day job, right? You think, oh, it's so secure, but you can get fired, you can be laid off, like, stuff happens. And
Yeah.
so I think it's important to, like, keep that in the back of your mind, because it's easy to get complacent, at least it is for
Yeah.
me. So
Oh
always
yeah.
kind of being aware. So.
True. Well, and that's part of my current story is I got I got laid off in August, and I'd already started this work on the side, and it really being laid off was a bit of a shock. I'm not going to kid anyone about that, but just
Sure.
it was really my it was that thing that really like caused me to jump in with both feet into what I'm doing now, which felt
Yeah.
scary, but it also felt like really, really good. Like, okay, now is my time. Almost to the point where I don't, my biggest fear was like wasting this opportunity that's before me right now. So things really
Mhm.
shifted. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, and I think it's great. Like what you're doing, it's good work. It helps people, and like Logan, my husband, sort of had a similar thing happen. He wasn't laid off, but when we were living in Portland, he found out that his boss and the lab he was working for would be moving to Boston, and so he was offered the position. Like his boss was like, "Come to Boston with me; it'd be great," and we were just like, Boston, no. And at the time, my dad was still alive, and we just
Yeah.
couldn't imagine like leaving my family behind at that point. But it's given
Yeah.
Logan this amazing opportunity. He took a sabbatical and then decided to dive into his own like micro business stuff, and he's looking for a traditional job too. But it's just like trying to embrace the opportunity and running with it. Like that mindset can make a big difference.
Yes, absolutely. I'm curious, we're talking a lot about layoffs and corporate jobs and starting micro businesses. I'm curious on this from your perspective, Tammy. My perception is that work is changing slowly.
Mhm.
I've seen and met 18-year-olds with laptops that wield just as much power as a corporation because of technology, and freelancing is allowing many people to have this completely new and just like uninhibited opportunity to go out and launch something meaningful.
Mhm.
So my perspective is that not only is there more opportunity than ever, but there's more like work is changing. Like the corporations are outsourcing more and so forth. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I I think work is changing big time. I mean, of course, I think there's always going to be traditional jobs, and
Mm-hmm.
that's awesome. But technology offers so many opportunities. It's just amazing. And even for us right now, we're living in a really rural area in
Mm-hmm.
Northern California, and it's one of the least populated counties in California. But technology offers just so much power to people. Like they
Mm-hmm.
can do freelance work from their home, like Logan's been doing. Like technology can facilitate like meetings, like from Mount Shasta to Wairika, and like for volunteer projects or whatever that Logan's been doing. And so
Yeah.
I definitely see that, and I think it's positive, especially
Yeah.
like um, being in a rural area and seeing kind of the economy and the situation with like job loss and things like that. I just hope that more people can kind of harness technology and use it for
Mm-hmm.
work they love and their own financial well-being, because I think it
Mm-hmm.
can bring a lot of vitality to communities that are having a hard time.
Yeah. That's a great point. We were talking about this before the show, how I grew up in a small town, and the population hasn't changed for the last 25 years or so.
Hmm.
And industries change and jobs shift. So definitely technology offers up that opportunity to like really support rural places that are amazing places to live and raise a family for a lot of people. So I
Yeah,
love
for
I
for
love that.
sure.
Great. I would so my term for what you do, Tammy, and what Logan's doing, and even like what my wife Jill does a little bit is like it's more of an unconventional entrepreneur. It's someone that's not, like wanting to start up um, a venture capital funded, startup company, but it's also someone that doesn't want to um, work in that corporate environment any longer.
Hmm.
Um, do you have any final like bits of advice for that unconventional entrepreneur that wants to start their own business and leave their job, but doesn't want to start the big business?
Gosh, I mean, I think, if there's something in your life that you're really passionate about, like, if it's writing, for example, and you want to become a writer, like
Yeah.
start engaging in the writing practice because
Yeah.
passion, I think, can get you a lot of places, but it's not going to get you everywhere. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you've got to practice, if that makes sense. So, like, start taking the small steps that you need to take to
Mm-hmm.
be a writer or be a yoga instructor or a coach or a photographer, whatever it is. And I think intuitively, like, what you need to do for
Yes.
whatever it is that you want to pursue, that passion.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think you can just follow your passion. You have to actively practice the craft and take small actionable steps to starting your business. And if you can do that every day, even if it's only a half an hour or an hour, you're going to get to a good place in the long run. I mean, that's sort of what I did. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm making decent money, like not a ton. I'll probably make 40,000 this year, but that's
Mm-hmm.
plenty for Logan and I,
Yeah.
to live really well and to save
Mm-hmm.
money. And so kind of just going with that and having
Yeah.
fun too. It's supposed to
Yeah.
be fun, right?
Yes. Absolutely. I love that. That's like it. First of all, it's coming from you, Tammy, and you're doing it. This is your life, and so you figured out how to do this, and so simple, straightforward. Practice your craft, that thing that you feel that you're meant to be doing and that you love. Take those baby steps and have fun.
Yeah,
It just to me
totally.
it's so refreshing. There's no complicated formulas, but you got to take the action. I mean, there's no getting around that. You got to take those baby steps every day.
Totally. Because you can't be like, I'm so passionate about writing and then never write. Like, it just,
Yeah.
you got to do it eventually.
Yeah. So true. So true. Great. This is such good stuff. Um,
Well, thank you.
yeah. 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 One of the things I didn't prep you for this, and I kind of always forget, but I like to ask this
That's
question of all
okay.
my guests on the show, is that I love adventure as part of my life.
Hmm.
I love to go, ski on the mountain and do those kinds of fun and crazy things. But people embrace adventure in many different ways, and you you and Logan are certainly no exception to that. So I always like to ask the question, what is your current favorite form of adventure that you're engaged in, or something adventurous that you guys have done in the last couple of months?
Oh, sure. Well, so Logan and I were car free for 6 years, and we lived out here on the ranch for 8 months last year without a car. And it was
Okay.
really hard. Like, we did it, but it was hard because we're 13 miles from the nearest grocery store. So
Oh my
doing that
goodness.
kind of commute is insane by bike. Anyways,
Yeah.
so we moved away, came back in September, but we also bought a car because
Okay.
we both realized, being car free is awesome. We still cycle a lot, but
Yeah.
we just needed to augment our transit needs with the vehicle. And it's actually been really awesome. Like, we've been able to see so much more of Siskiyou County with the car. Like,
Uh
we've
huh.
done some amazing hikes. We live about 45 miles from Mount Shasta and Crag State Park. And so just tons of hiking adventures and exploring Siskiyou County on our days
Yeah.
off. And having the car makes a big difference to go
Uh
on these
huh.
little adventures. Because, like, before, going by bike to Mount Shasta would take a long time, so it's nice to have a vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of just taking hikes and exploring new parts of this county that I haven't seen because,
Uh-huh.
in my opinion, I think Siskiyou County is like the undiscovered gem of California. It's
Yeah.
just stunning, the beauty here.
The beauty is phenomenal from the pictures that I see on your blog and everything. It's just crazy how amazing everything is.
Yeah, nature is total magic.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for sharing that. Um,
Yeah.
Tammy, what's up next for you, or what are the new and exciting things on your plate right now for your business and what you're doing?
Well, one of the biggest is I'm doing a collaborative e-course called A Simple Year, and it's 12 months of guided simplicity. So I'm collaborating with, I think it's 10 other authors, bloggers, and I'm just super stoked about this course. Like, if you're interested in living simply, and I'd encourage you to check it out. So
Yeah.
that's a big deal, and just I love collaborative projects, so this is sort of the perfect thing for me.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to release a coffee table book that highlights I've been doing my morning view photography series. So
Yeah.
basically, it's what it sounds like. I take a shot of my morning view, and my coffee cup usually makes an appearance in the photo. And I started that project as a way to sort of climb out of depression and deal with my grief after my dad died last
Yeah.
year. And so it's been a really fun project for me, and I'm excited to share some of my best photos in a book form. And I'll probably release one or two other e-courses in the later half of the year, but that's sort
Okay.
of my big focus for 2014.
Fantastic. Thank you. I've taken
Thanks.
a look at the A Simple Year course on your website, and it looks super amazing. So for any of you that are looking to embrace more intentional simplicity in your life, you can find that on Tammy's website at rowdykittens.com, and I'll link up all of this on the show notes on my website, so it'll be easy to
Super
reach.
cool.
Yes. All right. So how can people, well, I guess I just kind of answered that. I was going to say, how can people get in touch with you? But, Rowdy
Yeah.
Kittens,
Mm-hmm.
that's where everything's at for you. Your books, your photos, your blog, simplicity, living in a tiny house, all that great stuff
Yeah,
is right there. So I'll make
it
sure that
is.
all that stuff is linked up. Tammy, it's been exceptional having you on the show. I'm so excited. Number one, to reconnect with you, and number two, to have you share your wisdom and your insight. It's it's not the typical way that I think a lot of people live, but to me, it's so conscious and intentional. So thank you for sharing.
Well, thank you so much. Like, I
Yeah.
just had so much fun talking to you and reconnecting. So when Logan and I are in Portland in the new year, we'll definitely have to get together for dinner.
Okay, that sounds fantastic. Great. All
Cool.
right, well that's it. We'll wrap up the show. If you enjoyed this interview, be sure to subscribe to the Startup Sessions. Just put your email in the box above, and you can get all these weekly interviews delivered right to your inbox so you don't miss any of the great episodes. And also, all of these interviews are now offered on the Startup Sessions podcast, so you can download from my site or via iTunes. So thanks very much for watching and listening, and I'll see everyone on the next episode of the Startup Sessions. Take care.